Hey there, this is Richard from the Reactiverse. So today's video is going to be different than my other videos. Today we're going to be talking about my journey and experience with psilocybin and a legal form of shrooms. So back when I worked last year at a certain large electronic retailer, a large electronics and appliances retailer, I would microdose psilocybin from these little candy bars. Sorry, I'm checking on the pepper. I would microdose these little candy bars on my day off. And these were the 1-Up candy bars, I believe. At first, I didn't really experience anything with them. It was more of a nausea almost, and this enhancement in color in my vision and smell, as well as hearing, was improved quite significantly while I would microdose on these little candy bars. It's not the proper microdose with like the Stammet stack or something like that. This was just me testing the waters with the chemical and just kind of trying to figure out what it would do. About a month or so after doing these microdosing sessions, I was really noticing a difference in my mental state and my thought processes. My thought processes would be a bit more clear, and I would start coming to more sympathetic or empathetic realizations when it came to my daily actions towards people and interactions. There was a confidence boost as well. I wasn't scared of anything or anybody. I was very outgoing. Was also the number one salesperson for the memberships, etc., in the store. I digress. Those were some pretty good benefits just from the microdosing of these things. And I have come to find out that I'm actually quite sensitive to psychedelics. So whatever dose usually gets somebody up to a certain level, it doesn't take probably nearly that much for me to get there, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It just means I'm a cheap date, which is cool. So that was just my experience microdosing. I didn't do it for very long or very consistently, except for that first month. After that, I would just kind of do it occasionally, but still noticing the differences. Then my friend came and told me about this product called Shroom Fused by Dazed. So Shroom Fused by Dazed has lion's mane extract, reishi extract, and chaga extract, and trippy substances listed on the box. Now they do confirm that they don't have any like red cap amanita in their product. There is no hallucinogenic compound specifically from that strain. So I decided to try 2 because on the box it says there's 4 different levels really that they recommend, I guess. There is happy relaxation, there is beginner's euphoria, there is full awakening experience, and then there is full melt. I was quite hesitant to take anything more than 2 for my first go round. So my first go round, I did take 2. It was kind of a day like today where it's nice. It's not. It is kind of gloomy outside, but it was a day where I really didn't have anything to do. I took the 2 little gummies, which were quite delicious. From there, it took maybe 15-20 minutes for these to kick in, and I took it on a completely empty stomach in the morning. So I do notice immediately the woozy, wobbly feeling that comes with the airheadedness, the lightheadedness kind of almost. It's just like it's like there's an ethereal liquid in your head just washing around while you're up there. It wasn't the most comfortable of sensations, but it was followed by the happy sensation. Then the nausea kicked in, and I started getting sick. Hold on. So with these kinds of substances, there are the nauseating effects that do happen. So my body decided to try and throw up. Well, I'm comfortable with doing something like that. If my body needs to get something out, I am down to assist in that experience. So I kind of hung my head out this window right here, just started, tickling the gag reflex. And I did throw up a little bit. I know it's probably like TMI, but it wasn't like a lot at all. After that went away, it took about, I'd say the nausea lasted for maybe a half hour. And then it was gone. And from there, the euphoria kind of really started to kick in, and it was just like, whoa. And I found myself getting very, not anxious, but antsy. I found myself getting very antsy. I couldn't sit still, but I wanted to lay down. My legs, they had a lot of movement that they wanted to do. And like my pelvis area and my legs just really wanted to like move and adjust and kick around. The experience was quite interesting. I'd never experienced quite a restlessness like that. So what I did was I'm like, well, I'm going to lay down and just move my legs a lot. So I took my yoga mat out, which is actually over here, and I just laid it down with a pillow and a blanket. And then I took my my heating pad and put it on the yoga mat and just started really feeling comfortable. You do get that really sleepy effect where you're just like really drowsy, but I wasn't wanting to fall asleep. It was just a nice, good drowsiness. After a while, I started seeing the visuals. I started seeing the patterns coming alive and things were starting moving a little bit subtly. So after the visuals started kicking in, I started becoming very impressed by them. I started becoming entranced, I guess is a good word. I was like, wow. And I've got a lot of flat surfaces. As you can see, there's this gray sound. Well, usually you can see the gray soundproofing here, and I've got a couple more panels here, a third one here. And that's where they really danced. So I was seeing the visuals. I'm like, whoa, this is a new experience. And it started coming in these beautiful greens and purples, very earthy colors. And I really start to understand the Tool aesthetic when it comes to their album covers, especially the one with the pot. That album cover with the face was just absolutely those geometries. So after that, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I could just chill. And then soon enough, as I'm laying down, I'm just giggling to myself. I'm thinking a whole bunch. I'm thinking about things that make me laugh, things that I got sad about, things that I could have done better. There was a lot of looking back on what could have been done better. But it wasn't in a sad sense. It was more of a understanding sense. And that's what I like to call this stuff. I like to call it liquid understanding because that's really what it is. It helps you understand. If it's not about yourself, then it's about aspects of the human experience. It's about aspects of the human body, the human mind. And I started coming to a whole bunch of realizations, not only just about myself, but it really helps you focus the lens of thought into very specific areas. And where I was focusing was making me giggle a lot. So I was sounding like a fucking madman. I understand why back in the day people were like, no, this is a terrible thing. It makes you crazy. The people need to be put in the nut house because I swear to God, if anybody saw me and the way I was on this floor, just laughing maniacally about the floor. I was trying to like record a video being like, this is a floor. Trying to explain the thought processes of understanding said floor. And it was quite beautiful. But I explained in that little recording about how deeply it makes you understand about literally everything. So you start coming to these beautiful logics and these beautiful realizations. And I could tell when my ship started going in a sad direction, I would just steer it back gently to where I wanted the attention to go to. And it was quite a fun experience to have by myself. There was a lot of laughs that happened. There was a lot of giggling. There was a few times where it felt like my brain exploded in ecstasy from these realizations. And the harder I laughed and the more joy that I got from it, it just felt like my brain was lighting up in these wonderful ways. There were a lot of realizations that I came to, just baseline, and then all the realizations that I had already come to. I would say the past 6 years, I've really put a lot of focus into learning how to look at things through different and better perspectives and better understandings, and trying to truly grasp situations and mental habits, especially about myself and how I react to people and things, and all these really good reactions that, are considered wise or something like that. And about 60% of the realizations I came to, 60% of them were ones that I had already come to before having even done shrooms. So it really validated the work that I put in without even having to take hallucinogens. It made me very proud of myself. Not like getting a big head or anything, but just a good pat on the back for the hard work that was done, because it really set me up for success on this first experience. And then I came to a whole bunch more that kind of blew my mind. So that was my first trip. And it was by myself. And a lot of people were like, you don't want to risk doing that because of the possibility of bad things. My mental fortitude is pretty damn good. So, I mean, I was able to just out logic any bad things that felt like they were coming my way. So now I'm going to talk about my experience with friends. This was about 3.5 weeks later. It took me about almost a whole month to get my friends together to be able to do a group experience together. And we couldn't even get all of them. Yeah, about three or four friends of mine. So a lot of them, or a few of them, had to cancel beforehand. Happens. But we call them boys' nights every time my friends are over. Even though girls are in the mix, we call them boys' nights. We had a little group. We had a nice group of us the night before, and we all smoked and had a great time and listened to music and just spent a lot of time bonding, playing fun games. And then the next morning, we were going to wake up early. For me, I was going to wake up at 8. For everybody else, I'd said like roughly 8:30, and then we'll start at 9 o'clock in the morning. Well, one of my buddies was like, okay, well, one of us is a morning person and the other one isn't. So it might take me a little bit to get there. And he was referring to his old lady. And because he's definitely a morning person. And so am I. So he got her up, brought her over. They were a bit late. And he was like, yeah, the morning went about how I expected it. Everybody's there. And we're like, okay, cool. We've got the food, which was a vegetable platter and a box of pineapple and a box of berries, like strawberries, raspberries, and blackberries and cranberries. Or not cranberries, but blackberries. just a lot of clean food, because I knew that you wouldn't want to eat something heavy on this when you did get hungry after the nausea went away. So we just got a vegetable platter with some ranch, so like celery, snap peas, carrots, tomatoes, and just a thing of ranch. And then you've got, pineapples and the berries. So we take them. About 20 minutes later, we're definitely starting to feel it. Well, my buddy's lady starts getting pretty damn sick, like, and to an uncomfortable degree. And so he had to kind of take care of her for the first bit. So she went and slept in the guest room in the house, or laid down in the guest room in the house, and he just kind of kept her company for, I'd say, about 45-ish minutes. So myself and the other two of us were upstairs in the half-floor bonus room. And one of us was laying down on a mattress. I was sitting on the couch, just kind of enjoying the experience and understanding what was going to come my way, the familiar sensation. I bought Estes bags in case anybody needed to throw up and we needed to throw it away. The nausea didn't actually hit anybody bad enough to throw up, which was fantastic. That's a great experience already. So we're upstairs. We're listening to some pretty mystical music, and I had a specific playlist made for this beginning part of our experience, and it was hammered dulcimer music. I love hammered dulcimer. It's probably some of the best music that you can listen to on shrooms, because you feel like you are just as much a part of mythology as the elves. So the three of us upstairs were having a pretty good time. Then my buddy Shane comes up and he's like, hey, her mom's coming to pick her up. I'm going to spend another 10 minutes or so with her, and then I'll be out. And then when her mom gets here, we'll just send her on her way, and she'll relax at home. So that was fine. It was no issue. She was like, no mushies for breakfast. No mushies for breakfast. She had a very good attitude about it, which was, it just made the day a lot easier. But we did feel bad because she had to leave. Obviously, nobody could drive and operate machinery, so that's why we did have a chaperone, as you always should when you do these things. So we got to the point where his old lady was gone, and it was just us in the house. My mother was out, I think, babysitting or something for my sister. So we're all just kind of walking around the house with blankets on and just being goofy and looking at, we've got some really interesting wallpaper in our kitchen. Everybody's just looking at the visuals going on the wallpaper in the kitchen and having a good time. And then Shane has to make a phone call. Something happened at work. Then we go outside. It's not greatest of days. It's kind of dreary out, kind of like today is. But it doesn't feel bad. It feels pretty good outside. It's like 65 degrees with a nice breeze. It's cloudy. There's not too much going on. It's not raining, but it's definitely damp. You probably do want to wear socks and shoes. But for our experience, we did go outside, we let the puppers out, and I wanted to put my feet in the grass. So both Shane and I came out into the grass with no shoes on. I said no feet. With no shoes on, and we started just admiring how beautiful everything was. And you could just feel the intelligence just seeping out of the plants and the ground, and you can feel it trying to tell you something. You can feel the intelligence whispering to you. It's just such a beautiful experience. So from here, we ended up just chilling outside for a bit, because we've got a little fire pit with some chairs around it, and we didn't light the fire pit, but we definitely sat in the chairs and just kind of sat and talked for about 10-15 minutes or so. From there, I was like, man, I could probably go for another one. And this would have been a fourth one for me. I took 3. My buddy Shane took 3. My other buddy took 2, and another friend of ours took 2. And they were having a grand old time. So I looked at Shane and I'm like, I could probably go for another one. And he's like, I do want to kind of go back at a decent time. And he's like, what time is it? And I was like, it's like 10:30 in the morning. And he's like, maybe. About 5 minutes goes by. His mind is made up. I'm like, yeah, I need to go in and pee. And he looks at me and goes, you want to grab me one of those little, you know? And I'm like, yeah, buddy, I got you. So I went I went inside, used the restroom, came out, grabbed one for Shane. I did a half of one, and I honestly think that's probably all I needed to do, and I was glad I did. So I took a half of one, and I brought the whole one out to Shane. He ate it, was fine. I ate the half of one. We're chilling. The feeling of like the kind of nausea comes back, but it's significantly more handleable. After that, we were like, let's go in and smoke. Let's go in and just chill, have a good time and relax. So we came into my office here. I had a whole bunch of chairs in, and we just started smoking and talking and listening to some EDM. And we were showing each other songs. And it went from there to us talking out thoughts. So we brought the food in here, the fruits and veggies in here, and started just munching. And this time my mom had gotten home. It's probably around noon. Or no, probably around 11:15. And we're just chilling. We're just showing each other music and just really digging it. And the music is hitting way better than what music usually hits like, because I kind of understand my threshold of happiness when I listen to new songs. The music was just coming across as way better. So, I mean, obviously it didn't help. We were on some chemicals, some medicines, if you will. It probably didn't help there, but it's obviously probably what explains it. So we're starting to chat up real good and starting to talk. And I'm really starting to come to the understanding of why it is that musicians do this often and highly occasionally. Because the inspiration that you feel, it's like you start pulling wisdoms and inspiration out of nowhere. It's like there's this blanket of creativity that you can freely pull, like almost an endless amount of resources from. So as we're listening to these musicians, I'm over here like, I'm really getting like why these people do this. Because the music is a representation of themselves. Obviously, you know that with music, it's a representation of what somebody is feeling. However, it gave me an entirely new understanding of said representations. Especially when I think about them possibly having done these medicines themselves. I can understand the creative flow almost. I almost started wrapping my head around their creative flow when it came to their songs. So I was really starting to just get some good brain juices going. I started talking, and then we started talking about, you know, how these songs are representative of the energy that these people are trying to express. And then I start coming to these realizations of this human body and what we do is just an expression of energy. This is an expression of energy. Everything that we do is an expression of the energies we choose to express. Music is not different. Music is an audible form of what we are trying to express outwardly. It really started coming together, these realizations. And then I started going on these like tangents, you know, because we're in a like a group of 3-4 people, and we're bouncing these thoughts off of each other. And it's almost like a think tank, but beyond regular think tanks. This is like next level thinking. And it started coming to me that these aren't usual typical thought processes that I have. And then I start continually having massive revelations of things like the human mechanism is one designed to intake as much experience, outward experience as possible. Our senses, our 5 senses and more senses are built genetically into us to experience as wide of a range of things as literally humanly possible. And it's just so crazy. You think about the engineering of the human mechanism. These amazing eyes that can see colors vividly. These ears that can hear a wonderful range of sound. The sense of smell that's actually really good. It's not the best in nature, but it's still really good sense of smell. And I started coming to understand that this is just a massive intel gathering tool. It's an experience gathering tool. It was quite incredible. And then we started talking more about energy and what energy is and how we are energy and, things that we already kind of knew. But we started going deeper into these topics. And one of my favorite things I was going into was the energy that you choose to represent as yourself. And I was thinking a lot about, how I don't have an issue with trans people. What you choose to do with your body, that is absolutely your choice. And you have the freedom of choice to be able to do whatever you like with that body. So I'm not one to judge when people want to do that and feel like they need to change and reorient themselves physically to feel more comfortable. That is all you. I don't judge anyone for doing that. But I came to the realization that the energy that you choose to express, whether masculine or feminine, hello, sounds like a new drug. The energy you choose to express, whether masculine or feminine, what your actual gender is in your body doesn't fucking matter. This doesn't matter. The gender doesn't matter. This is the physical shell of what you came here for. What you choose to represent shouldn't correlate with what your body represents, your biology. Your biology is your biology. We are the human species. That's it. Like that's just how it is. If you choose to represent masculine energy in a feminine body, go for it. Go for it. Represent that shit. If you choose to represent feminine energy in a masculine body, represent that shit. Be true to yourself and the energy you want to be comfortable with. That is absolutely just go for it. So and that really just blew my mind, that it doesn't matter, what you are physically. Physically, nothing matters. There's a science joke that can be made there. So I started falling in love with people more after these certain realizations. So I started going off on these tangents and I started talking more about energy and I started talking about like king energy because that's what I like representing. People started calling people king and queen now, and especially me. I really like embracing that. I like embracing calling people king or queen because one, it just makes them feel so much better. When you call somebody king or queen, there's this humility that you get to express while lifting someone else up. And that's what I'm really about. And I really, really synchronized with that. So I started calling people king and queen, and, I call it king energy, and there's nothing that should be able to stop you as humans. And what we feel like we are so limited. We're so focused on the bad and have these pre-trained thought circles and thought patterns that it's extremely difficult to unlearn these processes because they were programmed into us. I started shedding all of these mental faculties that were not serving me, these like blockades to better and higher thinking. I started really going into king energy, and then I just was laughing my ass off and going, oh my God. And everybody was like, what happened? And they start laughing because, I keep having these realizations. And I was like, whenever you start thinking to yourself about, I feel this, just replace I with the word king or queen. And then it just changes your entire perspective as to where you can apply king or queen energy to your thought patterns and unlearn these things, because we were talking about being kinder to yourself and your thoughts. And I was like, just replace it. Like, if you start feeling lonely, just start replacing, say, King feels lonely. And then you start going, King don't feel lonely. King got himself. King don't need nobody. King is strong by himself, and we started really going with it. We started talking about, oh, I'm really struggling. King, I don't have the motivation. And you just say the phrase King doesn't have motivation, and then see how silly that sounds when you say it to yourself. King don't have motivation? Nah, King got all the motivation he needs. King shit. and I talked to you about how grammatically it sounds very, very caveman hoo energy, but in essence, that is the energy where you draw that motivation from. That is the energy that you do get that from. That is the place that it comes from. So even though it does sound kind of primitive, it really is a mechanism that's there for us. We're meant to tap into these energies that we were given. So we really started just really boosting each other up. So we started talking about our problems and things that we were having issues with. And we started replacing the I with King. And it started just coming through like, dude, we're unstoppable. Like you once somebody sets their mind to something, they are truly motivated and they take action, massive action towards it, and they are determined, to represent King energy in all that they do. You become the human being that you wish you could be, or that you have wished you could be. And then we started talking about Christ consciousness. And I said, it's like representing Christ energy. You have to be kind, compassionate, and understanding and loving. And those are huge to the human experience as someone who is separate from everyone else when they're having their own experiences. When everyone's not having a collective experience, they're having their own individual experience, and they're focusing really hard on that. So I was like, what does it say in the Bible that Christ is? Christ is King of Kings. Christ energy is King of King energy. You are the King of Kings with Christ energy. And that's the energy that you should represent. At least those were the deductions we were coming to as a group. The being the compassionate, being the soft, being the gentle, being the loving. But when it matters, you need to be the ferocious. You need to be the determined. You need to be the motivated. You need to be the unstoppable, the unmoving. So we were really motivating each other and ourselves. And it was such a beautiful experience as a group of my best friends. And, you can't make, you can make new friends. You can't make old friends. So it was just a fantastic experience, and it was literally life-changing. So from there, we're listening to music, and Shane was telling us about the system he's got in his car and the songs he was showing us. So he was telling us about one of the effects of one of the songs and how it wraps around the speakers in his car. So he's like, yeah, that part that we listened to in that one song, it literally goes from this side all the way around the back of my car to the left side, and then, just comes right back around. And we're like, okay, we gotta listen to this. So we hop into his car and we start listening to music. Well, I'm still really deep in thought. So I'm just thinking. I'm in the backseat, I'm thinking, I'm aware of what's going on. I'm having a great time because I'm with my friends. Good things are happening. I'm on some really good thought circles and thought patterns right now. I'm learning. I'm coming to truths. I am learning about all these different truths. And then in the car, a breakthrough happens. It literally a boosh, this massive, extreme breakthrough. And when I say breakthrough, I don't mean like I was just sitting there in my chair, blown away looking at visuals. I'm talking about the thought patterns that I was having destroyed my entire way of thinking initially as to what I've been taught how to think my entire life. it destroyed and shattered it all. And I was like laughing, and they're all laughing with me because they kind of understand what's going on. Because when you're all together on this wavelength, you kind of understand and feel each other. So I'm just sitting in the back seat, just looking, oh my God, like what? And then I start going off on like, really? This is what the Stoics were talking about back in the day? Like, they literally had nothing better to do than to fucking think, and it leads you to all of these answers? Really? And like, and then so my buddy Shane and everybody in the car starts laughing their ass off. And then I'm like, I know how this sounds to you guys. And then they laugh even harder. And Shane just goes, oh my God, he's so aware. So we just had a really funny, wholesome moment. And I'm like, they literally had nothing to do back then. Like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, all of them back then, the Stoics, they had nothing better to do than to fucking think. They didn't even have sticks. They didn't give a fuck about sticks. They said, I'm going to think so good that I'm going to make this human experience. I'm going to elevate this human experience to a level that 99.9% of the human population at the time cannot experience because everybody was so in their own individual experience. So that was a huge breakthrough for me. And I'm like, really? I'm like, This is what takes me to the next level. It literally just took thinking. It was a lot of like really coming to these understandings that they were, and just the thought realm for me exploded. It was a playground. The thought realm is a playground to me now. I am so much better able to think and express myself. Not only that, but when it comes to understanding people in general, the experience is quite sensational. It's not okay, well, I understand your perspective. It's like, no, I understand how something affects someone, not only because I feel their energy more, but because I can picture their logic from the experiences that they've had. And this is not a skill I've really had before. Someone who's, I've got ADHD and I was sexually abused as a child. Like that's some heavy shit, and kind of one hell of a handicap, neurodivergency, I guess you could say. However, I've now understood how to utilize this as a superpower, and I have been able to before, just not quite as effectively as I can now. So that was a really big experience, and I started blowing everyone's mind with the realizations that I was coming to, and I started talking about the human mechanism again. The human mechanism is you ever hear somebody tell you that you need to change your perspective on something, and you find it really difficult to, go from like, say angry or upset to, immediately happy. I started thinking about what the brain is when it comes to perspectives. And it's like, okay, well, we can see things from other people's perspectives. Like I could put myself in someone else's shoes. And then I realized when it came to the whole experience thing again, we are the most highly intelligent data gathering systems on planet Earth. These are the most sophisticated flesh suits of any animal. We have the most sophisticated bioengineering. The ability to change perspectives is the brain's job. It's not just something it can do, it is its purpose. Because when you look at something from different perspectives and you spend the time to wrap your head around a situation from as many perspectives as you can possibly think of, you have a significantly better understanding of that situation. And that's what these are for. It's not just I'm gathering intelligence and keeping it. I'm learning materials and stuff like that. No, this is meant to shift perspective. Your brain is a fat fucking lens to look through anything you want to. And if you need to change the lens, change the lens. And it really allowed me to understand that what you give your attention to is your focus. Everything that you're giving your focus to is attention. That was huge for me. And like, obviously that just sounds like, well, fucking duh. duh, it's your focus is attention. But when you understand it on that level, you really understand it, because the understanding of the perspective shifting that the brain is supposed to be constantly doing, because it's supposed to be gathering as much data as possible. And on top of the fact that attention is your focus, then you really start to learn how to use this mechanism. So I start really viewing things from other people's point of view, and I start really viewing things from a what I would consider not so human point of view, just a more realistic point of view. Because what this did is it kind of made everything become real. It made me understand that what we think of as real is not real, and what we think of as not real is closer to reality than we thought possible. And there wasn't much of an ego death, like I said earlier. It was just more of an understanding of what this is, what the I is, and what that allows us to do as humans. So we all go back into my office here, and then we start chilling. And I'm explaining the revelations I'm coming to my friends as best as possible, on top of the fact that I'm still coming to more revelations and understandings that I can't really explain because there's so many coming in at once. I started getting a headache at this point because I was using this muscle that really hadn't been used that much anymore in that way. It really felt like I woke up a muscle that I hadn't used. So I start playing with it. I start going into the thought realm and just having a time. So I'm like, okay, well, everybody's munching. We have carrots. We need more ranch. Or no, we have ranch. We need more carrots. So I go into the kitchen. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna make some carrots. We have actual carrots, like big stick carrots. I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go peel some, and so we can have more food to eat, some more snacks. So I go to the kitchen, and I'm trying to look for the peeler, and I'm on some really good thought cycles. I'm just going really. I'm just like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And I'm looking in the drawer for the peeler, and I really can't find it, and but I'm over here, and I'm just like, it's kind of like, I'm a little annoyed that I can't find it, but it's okay that I'm not finding it because I'm on some really good thought patterns right now. I'm just having kind of a grand old time in my head right now. Just an absolutely fantastic experience. And I'm digging in this drawer, and like 4 minutes goes by. I can't find this fucking peeler. But I'm on some really good thought circles. And then I'm like, I can't find this fucking I look. The peeler is at the top layer of everything that I was looking through. I was digging so deep, not only physically through the drawer to try and find this peeler, but in my head as well, how deep in thought I was. It kept me from seeing what was right there on the surface. So I got to have this wonderful moment with myself about, oh man, like, man, it was in front of you this whole time. If only you weren't digging so deep. So I came out here to the office and I explained that moment with my friends, and they were just rolling. So it was just a magical moment for everybody involved. And then I went back to peeling carrots and came out, and we had a good time. I'm thoroughly floored at this point, and I'm telling everyone, like, I can't believe this. This is the biggest breakthrough of mental health ever for me. And the fact that I get to take this with me into the future, these thought processes, they're not the same. Like, it's forever changed. And, I already had, in my opinion, what was a better brain to deal with, how to deal with people. Because not only is most of my work experience customer service, but the realizations I had come to by listening to wise people and trying to put that stuff into practice before I even did this medicine. It was exceptional, and it felt like all the hard work that I've been done for the past 6 months not only was validated by the prior experience, it's like it laid the foundation for this experience. My friends let me do the most talking because they were really enjoying the realizations I was coming to because they hadn't come to those realizations themselves. And as I was pointing this stuff out with all of us on the same wavelength, they came to those understandings entirely just as much as I did when I explained them. Not only that, but my skill of articulation with the English language has exceeded, honestly, my past experience with it. I put conscious thought into everything now. I want to articulate my thoughts and feelings as vividly as feasible so that people can understand more of what my inner experience is when I'm expressing. Because being able to express, which the English language or any language allows us to do, the language is the building blocks of our expression. I was always talking reactively. I wasn't really putting thought into words. I now take several seconds to respond to people when it comes to something I think I feel I need to think about. If it's something like an easy yes or no question, obviously, yes or no. But when it came to when somebody was acting a certain way, I was analyzing how that person was acting, how they were saying what they were doing, the inflections that came from their sentence and how they were doing it, how their facial expressions look, how their energy feels. It's way easier to understand what someone is going through now when I look at them, listen to them, and experience and they try to tell me what they're experiencing. It's quite sensational. My temptation from things. I've struggled with adult content my whole life, having been abused as a young kid. It really warps the mind and an experience like that. So when your mind is warped at that young of an age, you start doing things that you should not be doing at that age, and it keeps going all the way up until your problem is fixed. Either that or you're smart enough to be too scared of certain consequences of your actions, and that's how it should be. You should be understanding of the consequences of your actions. But when it comes to when you're abused, they say that when you are abused at a young age, it's significantly easier for someone to become an abuser. And I never wanted to ever fall into that trap. So this really saved me. I really understand what I can take from those experiences in my life. The pain, the trauma. It doesn't feel like pain and trauma anymore. It feels like some of the greatest things that happened to me because it taught me lessons that I feel like I never would have gotten if they didn't happen. And it gave me an appreciation for the individual life that I have lived and the experience that I can say are only mine or only shared with a very select few people. So not only that, but when it comes to the temptation of, adult content, it's like a valve I can just shut off whenever it comes on. Now I did have a little bit of a weakness the other day, but I'm now 2 days without having to really think about it. And when I see it, it's like, yeah, it's nice, but I know it's not where it's at, especially spiritually. And I'm trying to become a very a pious man, if you will. But I can appreciate. But it's definitely not something that I want to keep my focus on, my attention on anymore. At least as nearly as much, because it was consuming my life. I had also, because of having ADHD, you become kind of an addictive personality. Marijuana, I was very dependent on because it gave me the dopamine that I was really looking for and I really needed to be able to feel like I can focus. But it was ruining my life, and I've stopped several times smoking marijuana, and the withdrawal process of having smoked for like 2-3 years and then just cold turkey, it's pretty rough. It's nothing like, it's not stopping meth, it's not stopping, it's not cocaine withdrawals, it's not meth withdrawals, it's not alcoholism withdrawals, but it's still pretty brutal because it's really mental. It gets you really down. But, the thing is having done this medicine, I understand that your thoughts are your thoughts are fiction. Your thoughts are not real. They're illusory is a much better word for that. Your thoughts are illusory. and you don't have to believe them. So when, you really understand that, instead of just be like, oh, you don't have to believe your thoughts. And it's just like, okay, well, that's kind of understandable. But when you've been programmed to believe your thoughts ever since you're, a kid, it's hard to unlearn that. But this allowed me to just do it in one go. Anytime I get, urge to look at adult content, I just shut the valve. It's that easy most of the time. The other day I had a bit of a weakness, because it was, well, someone I knew. And I will say the relationship with my last girlfriend is somewhat complicated in the fact that we still love each other, but we knew we weren't good for each other and probably still aren't. But that doesn't let us love each other any less. So it was one of those, it was the person I still kind of love, and we're both open to being in relationships separately is the thing. So that's not really an issue. It's, she's in a relationship with, I think one of her high school best friends now, and that's not an issue. I thought it was going to be an issue. It's not. It's really not. And I'm sure she probably won't have too much of an issue if I decide to have somebody become special to me like that again. Because we know at the end of the day how close her and we are as soulmates. And it's one of those things like we know we're always going to be in each other's lives, whether it be just friends or, maybe more. Because we just support each other that much. And we're not the people that's going to get in the way of each other's relationships when it comes to who we choose to love outside each other. And we're not going to actively do those kinds of things together. Anyway, I digress. We're going on an hour here. I kind of expected like an hour and a half almost. So your thoughts are illusory, and it's much easier to not believe them. So now I'm living significantly less reactionarily. When something immediately annoys me or pisses me off or makes me upset, I could just shut it down because I can out-logic any emotion. And you understand what it is. It's emotion. It's part of the human mechanism. It is part of the spirit, but the diversity of emotions is part of the human experience. So we came to understand it like, the human body doesn't matter. The emotions doesn't matter. Your thoughts don't matter because there's so much greater. There's just so much that is so much greater than your thoughts, emotions, and body that these aren't even worth really giving a fuck about. Just take care of them. There's so much more that we need to be putting our attention to and our focus. So I'm telling you guys, like it's an exceptional experience. And this wasn't one where I went on like a super extremely visual experience. This was just, I was seeing things. Now, let me get to the visuals because this is the most I've ever taken. It did get to the point where everybody in every every millisecond seemed like was AI art of them. It looked like an AI art lapse of them moving. And everybody looked quite fucking beautiful. Everybody looked amazing. I'm going to be real. Like superb AI art of my friends. And I was really appreciating that. And then the visuals went even further and I started seeing like, the perimeters of things coming inwards or things that were, that have edges coming down in the directions that they were aimed at. I'm going to hate editing this because there's so many times I have to pause for things happening outside or having to blow my nose or having to have a coughing fit. But it's okay. I'm doing it for you. I say that, but it feels like this video is more for me than anybody else. Then I get to the point visually where I'm really starting to see what is on people. I'm looking at people, and I don't think hallucinogens, or I don't think psychedelics are hallucinogens. I think they allow you to see more what is actually happening than what we currently understand. I think there are energies that we can't necessarily comprehend in a physical human form, and we have to take certain substances that allow us to do so. These medicines are wise. These medicines have been here for more than thousands of years. These medicines have been here very long time, and they are hyper intelligent. I start seeing on my friends and my skin the blueprints that they were created with. I start seeing the flower of life pasted on everyone's skin. And it's not still, it's moving. There's like a flower of life just going, yeah, or, or like on someone's arm and moving or rotating. Like, we're talking, I am seeing the creation of these people as they are existing. And that was something that was nobody else was able to experience except me because of how sensitive I am to these things. And I still only took that half. I didn't take the other half. Once again, it was an amazing experience. We came back and we came down. We settled and we just talked and we're chatting, having a good time. And then friends, we came down fully and ended up, people ended up going home, and it was a whole thing of, I can comfortably say that I love you guys. Like, I say I love my friends often, but it doesn't feel like I was able to put my full self behind the I love you. And now it definitely feels like I can put my full self in the I love you, because I do. I love my friends so much. I love my family so much. And you really understand the human experience a lot more, and the human mechanism. It is life-changing. And I'm so happy that they're going into this, that this is being studied a lot more heavily in medical institutions and universities for their incredible effects on treating depression and anxiety, etc. I really feel like I have gotten significant more control over my life. I'm not afraid of anybody or what anybody thinks of me. That's not an issue anymore. Because now when I look at people, it's a lot easier to look at them as if they were a mirror, but also a window at the same time. And that's how you should look at people. Because we're all the same. Individualistically, we have our quirks and we're different, but we are all the same. And we are all each other. There's this divine sense of unity that comes from taking these medicines. And it's beyond comprehension. The day after, I got really emotional in my bed, or in my room, and it was like, I thought you could, just shut off the negative emotions. Well, this one was a mourning of, why couldn't I have been thinking like this my whole life? So I took probably about 20 to 30 minutes just to cry and mourn all of the situations that I could have handled better if my thinking was like this, and it's like, yeah, well, woulda, coulda, shoulda, it's in the past doesn't exist anymore. That's fucking absolute facts. But it doesn't help, it doesn't fix the people you've hurt. It doesn't fix how you've hurt yourself. Now, because of this, you can begin healing. And that's what's powerful. And that's what's important. We're all in this shit together. A lot of people are miserable. But after having done this, I can say with confidence, I will never contemplate suicide in my life ever again. So if I do die and someone says it's suicide or roll to suicide, that shit's fake. That shit's not real. But I'm not really going to be one of their candidates for that kind of thing, because that's not where I want to take the direction of my life. I want to heal people. I want to help people. Thank you for listening. If you stayed to the end of the video, you're my hero. If you really enjoyed this, I want to hear your feedback. And if you had a journey yourself, I want to hear the realizations that you came to and your own experiences. And I want to hear about your journeys and your lessons, your lessons learned, and what are some of the benefits that you gained from your experiences with this stuff. And I really want to thank you for your time, because as humans, we are bound by time. And this video is over an hour. It's at a minute, or it's at an hour and 8 minutes almost. So, minus the cutting that I'm probably going to do. I really now can truly appreciate every human and come from a place of understanding. It feels like now, instead of looking at people with my brain and my analytics, it feels like I'm looking at people through my heart. I'm understanding people instead of just thinking and making judgments. And it's hard to, when somebody's impatient, I can really shut down what reactions I used to have. When somebody's treating me less than stellar, I can calm, because it's not ruining my experience. I'm not allowing it to ruin my experience. And it's so easy to do that now, and it's just superpower. It's a superpower, and I'm more confident than ever, and I'm going to be doing more content. And as of yesterday, I put down money to go through a Reiki course. So I really believe that that's the direction that I should be going, is the Reiki direction. And I pay attention to signs that I'm given. This morning, or yesterday, the other day when I was cleaning, I dumped some trash out of my room into a bigger garbage bag, because I have a small trash can in my room. Well, one of the things fell out and I didn't see it. This morning I was thinking about, how I want to move my life forward with the Reiki, and, how is it going to be possible for me to have a business like that and to help people. And I looked down on the floor, and it was a tag from my scrubs that I had bought for the job working at the hospital. And the scrubs that I bought were from the brand Healing Hands. So it was kind of a, holy shit, okay, this is the right track. We put down the money already, and I've gotten divine confirmation, at least in my opinion, that this is the direction that we should be going. So I am more confident and more motivated than ever to go in this direction. So I'll let you know how that journey goes in some update videos and whatnot. But yeah, it was truly, I understand why they call them magic, because it really felt alchemical. And it really feels like at any time I can manifest my needs or wants into my experience. So go out there, love each other, have compassion, but most importantly, be understanding, because that is what we are. We are made to understand. So make me proud, and make yourselves proud, and be kind to yourself. Thank you guys for listening.